Yeah, I forgot to cover my futures last night, but I'm quite pumped actually. I think hopefully it's a good thing. Morning, guys. Let's kick it off. Hey guys, let me know if you can't hear in there. Okay, U.S. markets traded much better yesterday. Obviously, we had a big boost out of Europe early. We had pretty much bullish markets everywhere after the Asian session. We did sell off toward the end of the day, which is a little bit worrying, but the last 20 minutes or so was a nice push into the close, which is always really important. Bottom line is that we regained most all of our losses from the previous day. We also, at one point during the intraday action, we got to within a point or two of previous intraday highs at 1576. So, there's still a lot of very bullish market action going on there. In Asia, we the South Korean won that weakened to 6-month low on escalating tensions out of North Korea. South Korea, I think, the U.S. has sent 2 warships over there over the last couple of days. I'm really surprised it hasn't had more of an effect on the market. The oil price has been relatively benign through that. The gold price is selling off. The markets are really just discounting anything really terrible happening there at all. But we had a big night out of Asia overnight, or say big night out of Asia. We had a big night out of Japan with kind of the start of the new finance minister there and getting everything going. So we broke its losing streak from the last 4 or 5 days, and then obviously we saw precious metals, which really sold off a lot. We had some data out of the States slightly better than expected, which obviously didn't help the precious metals. And then I think the big thing was that the Fed's Lockhart saying that the Fed may pull back on stimulus this year, which really got things selling off heavily. So there's also been a few other cautious notes. I think right now, people just really don't see the reason to own gold at the moment, so that's the real issue. Bulletin's fired back at Eskom now, finally saying that it isn't detrimental to Eskom and that they've been paying above standard electricity tariffs for the industry over the past few years on the back of the peg that they have to the international aluminum price. So we'll watch how that plays out. I really don't think either way that it'll be detrimental to BHP's share price in one way or another. I just don't think that they earn enough revenues out of it. And then Sasol also is facing probes over dumping polypropylene products from Brazil's Bascom. So something to keep an eye on that story as well. China had better than expected non-manufacturing and HSBC PMI numbers this morning. Later, we've got UK PMI construction. We've got CPI out of the Eurozone. We've got business confidence here locally. And then we've got mortgage apps, ADP employment change, and non-manufacturing in the States. So reasonable amount of data today. So something to keep an eye on. Also, obviously, you can see the euro. It's starting to push below 128 now as well. Maybe measuring a little bit of risk off for us early this morning. All right, let's get into the maps. All right. First thing I want to show here is the Aussie. Again, I'm going to show this first this morning, and what I'm going to show is a 2-day chart in the Aussie, and I think that speaks for itself here. This first little move in the morning. I'd just like to point out that from this point here, where we were at 54,000. I think 54,040 or something like that to 35,800. We traded that in 15 minutes. That's a 15-minute, almost 400-point move on the Aussie on the back of, as far as I'm aware, no news. I've never seen that before since I've been trading. I still don't know what that was about. Obviously, there was some solid future buying all day. We saw a big follow through in Europe on the back of it, but I think I'm blown away by how it reacted in the morning and that it got up there so quick, so fast. I think it was a bit of a shock to the system for some of our markets, or for some of our stocks, and a lot of them didn't really pull back because of it. But you can see how we just kind of drifted lower after that. So I don't necessarily think that we've got a monster buy program in the market. I don't know if it's just kind of getting everything in equilibrium in terms of Europe, because Europe also had a big pop early on yesterday morning. But something to be wary of today, to watch out for. I think if you got burnt yesterday morning, shorting into that very early on, I really think that's a rare move. It's something that we haven't seen often, so I think it's important to take cognizance of that. All right, I'm going to show Nedbank here. I'm going to jump into a 2-year. We had talked about some of the like a shorter term trend line support, which we started to get a little bit steeper, which we've broken below only on the back of the dividend payment. I think that's important to keep in mind. But in terms of long term resistance, things are still well intact. In fact, yesterday we came down. You can see on the wick. If we were to move forward, you can see in the wick there we tested basically trendline support. We obviously closed above 190, but I think just below 190 here, there's major long-term trendline support for Nedbank, and I think it's a decent place we can take some risk here. These banks have been really holding long-term trend lines for a while. All right, I want to show Amplats here. Miners have just continued. Resource sector has just been absolutely decimated. And a lot of these charts are looking so hellishly negative. We should, technically we should be shorting them. It obviously becomes a lot more difficult to sell stocks that have fallen 20 to 30% in about a month and a half. But nevertheless, we've got Amplats, which is trading down to test previous closing lows at 363. We're a chip shot away from that today, about $8. Watch that today. If we get below 363, there's zero reason to own this thing. If you've got it, you got to be out of it. If it gets below 363 on a closing basis, but this could be a little bit of an area where you could see some buy support come in at the previous lows. I'm always hesitant when we've made such a big move. We basically made almost a straight line move down in a very steep trend from north of $480 all the way down to below to $370. So if we fall another $8 today, we're looking at 120 Rand pullback without really having a bounce. So it scares me a little bit to try to short it as if it breaks below, but technically, obviously, there's no reason to own it below that level. I'm going to show ARI. Rudder put me onto this one this morning. ARI, I think we'd looked at a little while ago about the potential of this head and shoulder pattern breaking down. We've kind of seen a bit of bounce around here, but we failed to break up above the right trend line of the right shoulder. As yesterday, you can see we really failed it on the open at 195. We broke down hard. I mean, that's a major reversal bar. We traded down about $12 off the high. It was one of the worst performers yesterday, and we really broke below the neckline on the on the head and shoulder pattern at $188, and I really think that we could look to test the bottom of this pattern, which is about 175, 176. So just keep that in mind. We could have plenty of further downside there in ARIs. All right, let's look at. I want to show Goldfields here. You can see how we've broken down there in Goldfields below this recent range, and we just cracked the lows as of yesterday. We sold off about another Rand in U.S. action, and if you look at top to bottom on this move, we're taking from about $76 to all the way down at $69.50. So we're looking at potential this thing could trade down to close to 60 Rand on the move through in terms of a target for the breakdown of this pattern. Anglo Gold also looks very similar to this. Hasn't fully broken down yet, but you can see there, and this range is similarly, or this pattern looks almost identical. Obviously, a close below. Let's just see what the closing low here was. 210.70. I think we closed at 211 yesterday. If we close below 210.70, I think game is on for this thing also. This range here, you can see, or this pattern moves from 230 to 210. So I think we could project 190 bucks to the downside on Anglo Gold if we break below 210 today. So keep those in mind. Obviously, we close at 2770 in the States and convertible, or sorry, on the ADR. So obviously, I think we will trade through 210. Watch these closely. This could be kind of capitulation that ends up happening for these gold miners here over the next few days. All right, I'm going to show the last one. I'm going to show first in South African market is ShopRite. I'd actually rather look at it from here. We obviously have been talking about, we talked about the break up above this, above trendline resistance there. But if you, in terms of horizontal resistance, we also been talking about this level 183. So we've broken both of those levels now on a closing basis. I think we closed it. Oh, geez, it closed down. I didn't even look at the closing price. Sorry. So we actually haven't broken that on a closing basis. So very important to watch that again today, though. If we can close above 183, that will obviously be breaking out there. So watch that one. And watch above 183. We seem to be failing it over and over lately. Okay. And then I'm going to show Admiral on the LSE here for the international guys looking for some ideas. You can see here really beautiful pattern. I love this kind of pattern. We've got a perfect flag here. We just totally snapped up yesterday. Not only did we snap up from the flag pattern, we also broke to new highs above 1362. I think that you could see probably a good 40 cents of upside from here in the next few days on Admiral. And then the last one I want to show is Google. And Google also identical type of pattern in terms of flag pattern. We showed this the other day. I don't know if you guys remember. We actually talked about potentially shorting as we broke this level here, which we were right in the short term. Once we broke down the following day, we got a nice red candle, which was I think we traded down about 10-12 bucks, but we've reversed above those levels and reversed there quite quickly, and we've really broken out of trendline resistance on this flag pattern, and I'd say this pattern is looking quite bullish. And if you look at it in a longer term pattern as well, I think it looks very solid. I mean, technically, this looks very bullish. I wouldn't want to be actually on the short side of this at all anymore. In fact, I would want to be on the long side. So, Google, I think, nice reversal yesterday, and above, from this level, I think we could go up and test all-time highs quite soon. That's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot.